basic purpose of the constructor to store the how much space of a class and then to do the initializations. And we have been created one constructor and then loaded the constructor, and then we have been called with the help, and then we have been created the non-static methods, and for calling the non-static methods we'll be creating an object references. So we discussed about what is means this particular object declaration, object reference declaration, and then object reference declaration and creation. So new keyword and constructors, these all things we have been discussed, and calling with this particular object, calling this particular non-static methods. And when we call this particular non-static methods, so how we can see that values, and we discussed about the Java memories, so stack memory, heap memory. So these all things we have been discussed on that particular day, talking about that particular memory parts. And once after this particular memory parts, then we created and then we have been called. And we would talk where these non-static variables would be state or non-static members would store, and then where the static members will store, and then where the objects will be stored. So these all things we have been discussed on that day, and then we have been stopped. And today what we wanted to see this one as in detail level of object creation. So how the object will be created, and calling this particular overloaded constructor, normal constructor, and calling this particular non-static variables into the picture. So this is what we wanted to discuss for today. Now let me first do a few things. So here, so that you can clearly understand on this particular pointers. Now, I wanted to define certain variables. Okay, so now int value 1 equal to, okay, let me write it in this way, 666. And why I need to type this one. What type of variables is this? What type of variables is this?
Non-static variables.
Okay. So non-static variables are happening. So now let me define some. So because this is really important for you to understand, I'll define few certain things which it is public. Why it is throwing error?
Integer is not placed in value 2.
Variable names are same.
Same.
Static variables we can't change.
Who said we can't change the variables? Okay, so now what I have did is I have taken a few non-static variables and few static variables. Okay, these are the static, right? See, if I didn't mention anything explicitly in front of this one, then this is static, so non-static. If I'm specifically mentioning the static, then this is the static variables. This is the basic declaration which we have been done. So basic declaration of non-static versus static. Okay, so why I'm explaining, why I'm doing this one. So very soon you will be understanding that one. So just as of now, you can just follow this one. Any questions here till here? I just declared, that's it. Nothing more than this. So now these things also will be called as. So now this is, what is this actually? These are, what are these? Variables, right? Now in these particular variables, I'll be having two type of variables. Actually, this is not really immediately important, but still, as we came here, I'm talking about it. One is local variables and global variables. I'm just bringing this new, don't worry about bringing a new term. So it is very simple. Okay, global variables. Now, what is this particular local variables or global variables? The name itself, it is very simple. It is saying that local. So we'll be saying that, hey boss, I'm local here. Means which you properly belongs to this. When you have been defined any particular variables inside this particular scope, the scope of a method. Now for this particular method, now what I have did is I have been defined an int uh, ronum. Okay, so when I have been defined this int ronum, so now this particular value would be local to this particular method. I can't access this particular. For example, I have to define this particular ronum equal to 100, and I can't, you know, if I wanted to use this here, this I can use it here, saying that. So now I can use it here and I can print it this. But now can I use the same thing here? Let me see that.
No, sir.
No, sir.
It will not allow you. So it will be saying that, hey boss, create the local variable for this particular num. So now what is the scope of this particular row num as from this braces to this braces is the life of this particular variable. But now I wanted to use it across all the methods, across the class. Then what I'll try to do is I'll be defining this one as in global variables. Means outside the methods, if you have been defined, outside of all the methods, if you have been defined, so then this is called global variables. The scope of this one is from this particular class braces, open braces, till the end of this braces. You can use anywhere these particular variables. So this is called global variables, and this is called local variables. Now here, wherever I wanted to use it, so I can use this. In any method, I can use it. In any method, I can use it. Why it is not, now why it is not accepting me here?
Non-static and static.
Excellent answer. So now you need to see it. See, what I have did, these two are non-static methods. And directly I can call this non-static variable into the non-static variables. But I shouldn't call a non-static variable or a non-static method in a static method. So always you remember, so this concept is same for the static main method also. These rules are rules, whoever it might be. It doesn't change. So now the rule for this one is, boss, if you are calling, so now you need to remember this one. This is very, very important, that always you need to know that always non-static can be called into non-static members only. Okay, this is very important. We can't call the non-static into static members. Anything. See, either whatever it might be. So the either the variables or methods. So these things can't be called into this particular static methods. So these non-static, you can't even call them into here. Now, if at all I wanted to call them, what I should do it? If I wanted to call non-static methods into static, what I should do?
Object creation.
An object.
This is where we do the object creation. Alright. So the basic purpose to call the the static into the non-static. So we will be calling this part with the help of object creation. We will be doing on this one. Got it? So this is how this way in static versus non-static works into the picture. So here, non-static variables, non-static members. Now we have been seeing how this static, non-static variables has been declared, static variables has been declared. and how these particular static variables will be called into the non-static methods. As it's we are same, so directly it will be called into these particular non-static methods. Non-static methods can call non-static variables, so that would be very easy. But when we calling this particular non-static variables or methods into the static, then definitely I should create the object for this one. So now what I need to do, I need to do a quick object creation for this one. For example, now what I'm doing here, so now here, this is a static method, right? I wanted to call this one. So now let me do this. I created a particular object, and with this particular object, I need to create this. See, as soon as I click the dot button, I click the dot button for this particular object reference. It gives me, you can see it, right, with this particular symbol. Okay, so now these are all things I can be called. So now here you can see that dot on top of it is yes, this is static. Yes means static. Now here these all blue colors are there, right? So these things are, that means these are the variables which you can call. And this particular green color button, so this is a non-static method which I called for month. So now if you can see here, as this is a static method, I need to create an object reference for this. With this particular object reference, I'm calling this particular method, and then this respective variables, non-static variables. Now you can see it, right? So now this is what the non-static method. Okay, so this is where the non-static method, and this non-static method I'm trying to call into this particular add method. And the same way, these are the non-static variables which I'm trying to call it here. Now, if I execute this particular method, now what it will be print for me? If I'm executing this particular add method, what it will print? What it will print? I think, okay, if you missing that some previous, what are the things? So the default constructors and these things we are doing it, right? So if this is also not there, I'm fine. Let me, where are the constructors? I'll comment this all. So multiplication, because this is calling. So now I'm executing this particular method. So now what it was happening, step number one, it was trying to create the object, right? Step number two, it was calling this particular non-static method. That's the reason it start to print, I'm in the multiplication. Step number three, I'm in addition, and in the addition, what it was trying to say that so this particular value, it is printed over here, 666. Got it? Any questions still here? Everyone understood? So if we wanted to call the non-static variables or methods, how I'm calling from the static method? Yes.
So one object is enough to call multiple non-static methods or variables?
Absolutely. See, now you're taking, see, one object is nothing but it's a Xerox copy of a class. Means it can have the complete information of a class, and it can access any number of times, any number of variables. For an example, I wanted to call the same method for multiple times. I can do it. So printing the same step.
Sir, but for operators, we are using different object reference.
Don't
For
go for
operators,
see now because if you go for the
for
strings,
constructors, sorry. For constructors, we are using different object reference.
no,
If I use the same,
no. See, you need to understand one thing. Constructor, see now, when I have been created these two methods, I can do something in this particular steps, right? I can do something in here, the steps, right? See, as of now, I'm just printing it. See, now what is the purpose of a constructor? It do the initialization also. See, I told you, right, the purpose of the constructor to store the class value and do the initialization. Means what these guys will do is certain, if you're passing some value to this, it will perform some initializations. Without passing anything, it do some initializations. Some classes may not do anything. See, that is a little bit advanced. So as of now, don't go for that one. See, what you need to understand is constructors are just a help to create an object. And we can create multiple constructors. You understand these 2 pointers as of now?
okay, sir.
Later
Sir,
on the
for
phases, you
between,
can understand these things.
okay, sir. For now, it means for constructors, we can create multiple references, and for object, we can use one reference for multiple times. We can use one reference, object reference, multiple times.
One thing you need to understand, constructors are nowhere relevant to the calling these particular methods or variables. Constructor, see now, what is the purpose of a constructor? It will say that how much, I'm getting the echo. See, the basic purpose of the constructor is, Monica, please go on mute. The basic purpose of the constructor is to create the object, not do the reference of the objects. See now, you see this in this particular statement. Don't get confused on this statement. Now, this is object reference, this is class name, and this is constructor. Constructor is helping to create an object. But calling the references and these things are not responsibilities of the constructor. See, what is the basic purpose of a constructor? It was just trying to say that, boss, I required this much of space. So that is the only information which it can give from the constructor. Right? Now,
Okay,
this
sir.
particular object reference will have the complete Xerox copy of this. See now how your original PAN card will look like. The Xerox copy will be looking like that. See now to take that particular Xerox copy, you need quite printer. You think this constructor as a printer. That's it. Now you got your print. Now you can do anything with this particular print. So now with this particular object reference, you can do whatever the methods you wanted to call, whatever the variables you wanted to call. So those all things would be available on this. Right? So guys, just give
Yes,
me 1
sir.
second, please. 1 second, please. I'm sorry. Yep. So now let me take you through this. So it's not opening for me. Okay, that's not working. Let me explain here. So you need to understand one particular point. So if I define this one, now I have been defined this particular val1, value2, value3. So now I have been defined, right? In which memory these all things has, okay. Except this, now let me see that code. Going to this one. Now I defined this one, right? In which memory these particular variables will be stored?
Stack memory.
Stack memory.
Stack memory.
Absolutely. So this will go and then store in the stack memory. So now the stack memory, it will go and store because this is a non-static variables. So now if you see here, this all means I have been stored this value1 and value2. This is in the stack. Now what I'll try to do is I'll try to create an object one. So which is the obj operator I have been created, right? So this particular object. So now immediately this memory would be created. Now this memory would be created in where? As this object is created, where it would be created?
Heap memory.
Heap memory.
It created in the
Heap
heap memory. Now I need to call this particular variable. So this particular values. Now what I'm trying to do is with this one, now whatever the non-static things are here. So now here, what are the non-static things I have? Value1, value2, and mul. Now what it will happen is it creates the Xerox copy here. Now value 1, value 2, and mul. This operator has been created. Means what it taken? It takes the Xerox copy of this. Now I created another object, operator 1. Now for this the address is 007. Now for this the address is 008. Now once again I'll be having as value 1, value 2, mul. And this is also into the heap memory. Now I created so on. I create some thousands and thousands of this objects. Now wherever I created value 1, value 2, mul, will it change? No, because this is a Xerox copy of this. This object is an instance, which is a copy of a class. Now wherever the non-static variables I have found, so those all non-static variables will be created like this. Now here I define the value as 666 and 777, and this method is here. Now this is a Xerox copy. I can change this particular 666 to 4 sixes, 6666, and here I'll be creating this one as 1111. So with the help of this particular operator, with the help of this particular object reference, I can change the values of this one. That's the beauty of non-static variables. Let me practically show that how this works. Now I have been given this one, right? Int value equal to these all. Now what I'll try to do is, anyways, let me execute this one to answer your question, Fatima. So you can call any number of times as this is their child, as this is their child, as this is means this particular object reference having this particular child's. Now it can call this particular child's n number of times. If my father is calling me 1,000 times, I need to go to him. So that's because that's all. So now this operator can't belongs now any other things. Now this particular object reference, this operator, I was always saying that object name. So you shouldn't feel that that's a different. So that's why. So this object is calling this particular variables a number of times so that it can fetch that particular things. So that is where if you can see it here, how many times I have been called, it can get it. Now let me remove this particular code. I'll call only once, and we will see on this one. Okay. Now this prints me. This particular thing prints me this method name and this, right? So now let me even comment this. I just only wanted to have this. Now I'm getting this particular int value. Whatever I have been defined here, I'm getting the same value. Now this value has been stored in stack memory. Now these values will be stored in
Heap memory.
Heap memory.
okay. Now it's stored in the heap memory. Now let me change this value. Okay. See, for this particular object, for this particular variable, I'm assigning a value. So what I'm trying to do, I'm assigning 6666. Okay. Now what the value will print here?
6666.
6666.
That's it. So now what it happened? So this is what I proven, right? So now I created the object for this one. From this particular object, I changed this particular value, and then I'm trying to print it. So now it will miss the old reference value here, because as of now, what it will happen? So this 666 would be assigned for this, and for everything. Now, when I was defining for this particular object specifically, then the reference from this particular stack memory will goes out, and it will take the value whatever we have been defined for this respective object. This is really very important. So do concentrate on it. If you're getting confused, you let me know. But you always feel that, hey, I understood here. But when you go for the implementation, you will not able to move. Understand it carefully. Okay. So now holistically, now you got the point that every object inside that particular object, if you're getting changed that particular value, it can be changed. So now let me go back to the code here, and then you can see on here. Now I have been given this one and doing all this one. Right? So now let me do this. I'm trying to create another object. Okay, another object I have been created. So with this particular object, I have been trying to print this. Okay, now what it will print for me? What it prints for me? So let me give this addition one.
Variable. No, sir, that global variable value.
Suppose you tell me double 666 or 6666.
666.
666.
Okay, can means any different answers? Before answering the questions, you should cautiously observe and then talk. So well, it means what?
Sir, it will print 66. No.
You give me both the answers. Now which answer I need to pick it up? I need to pick that answer. Huh? See, boss, you guys are not observing the code. See now, what is this particular object? So this is you have been. Now here, what I'm calling it?
So one should come there, right?
First object only.
See, it should come, but still I can execute this one, run. Now when I have been execute, I'm calling the same object which I have been changed here.
Okay.
That is the reason you need to observe. But see, I just selected, but I didn't paste it here. You have to be very much cautious. Most of the times you do this mistake. Okay, so now what it will print?
So, but that is actually not
Double
required. Right? Object operators one.
Absolutely, I created this object.
I mean,
I didn't paste. See now, what would be the output now?
666, sir.
66. 66.
See, you are not understanding this particular concept at all. So now I changed the value for this. I didn't change the value for this. See, I changed the value only for this one, right? For this particular object, not for this object. Now I didn't change the object for this one. I changed the value for this object only. Now, as I didn't change this particular value, definitely it will be printing that 666 only. See, I changed the value for this object reference one only, so for this particular operator, right? So this particular object, right? Now for this particular object, I didn't change the value so that it will find to this one. So that is what I explained you now here, right? This will have the reference of this value only until unless I changed. This value will have its own reference as this has been updated to this value. Okay, is it confusing? You want me to explain again?
So can you explain again, sir?
Here. See, I have an object here. So not an object. So this you consider as this is a class. In this particular class, I have value 1, value 2, and this is null. So these all are non-static. Now these all stores in stack memory. Okay. Now I created an object reference for this. So this is the name of this one is obj operator. And I created another object here. So which is object operator 1. Now in this way I can create n number of objects. Okay, obj operator n means n number of means infinity. I can create any number of objects. Now here when I'm having means when I created an object reference, all the non-static variables value 1, value 2, mul will be taken with it. So as I told you, this is a Xerox copy for this. Same way here also, value 1, value 2, and mul. And here also you'll be having value 1, value 2, mul. You will be having n number of, you'll be creating these objects. Now, as of now, I created the value for this one is 666, right? So 666. Now for this one, I have been created the value 777. Now, now what is the value in this particular object operator 1, and this will refer to this value. Now you can see this value here, you can see this value here, you can see the same value here also. Any number of objects you can find the same until unless you explicitly change the value. Now what I have did is in this particular object operator, what I try to do is I explicitly change this one into 6666. Now when I print this value, this will print me only this, means with this particular obj dot operator, if I print it, because I have been changed this value explicitly to 6666, it will print me this. But now what is the value here? Still it has a reference to this one only, right? So now it will print you 666. You go for any number of this because the change has been happened in this Xerox copy. Just consider in this way. I taken my PAN card Xerox. I taken multiple Xeroxes. PAN. Like this, n number of PANs I have been taken. Now I scratch on this particular paper and I did lot of things on this. I toned this paper. Will it impact this?
No.
No. Will it impact any other things? Will it impact original?
No.
That's it, right? Now here also it was happening the same thing. If I do whatever the things on this particular objects, will it not impact the original? Will not it impact any other things? That is what you need to get it right. See, that is what happens here. And guys, see, now once again I'm saying it. By listening here, now you might think that you understood everything. But go back and practice. Until unless you practice this, then only you'll understand. Now, whenever I call, see, if I'm calling with this operator, the value of int, wherever you go, what is the value of this? 6666. Now, whenever I created new thing and then calling this one, so this will refer to the old, which is comes up 666. So that is how this will be accessed. Now, another question. Can I access with this particular object reference? Can I call, I can see that object creation would be done to call the static variable, non-static variables. Now, can I call with this particular object reference? See now, when I take in the Xerox copy, it takes care of the entire Xerox copy. It not only takes this non-static, even this will take care of the static also. Right? Now, in this particular non-static, I can directly call the static variables. Now, example, what I wanted to do it is, I wanted to call this static variables. Can I call directly here, or I need to do anything over here? What are my static variables?
Directly.
3 and 4.
You can call
So
that.
now I have 3 and I have 4. Or let me put it in this way, 3 and 3. And I'm removing this. Now, will it be changed? See, now here I have been calling the static variable directly, or as I created an object with this particular object, I'm calling this one directly. See, all we know that static can call directly static variables. Now I can call this one static directly, but I'm calling with this one.
No change.
Will it be
You
changed?
can
No change.
no
sir.
change.
Have you seen it? 777. Then why means what is the error it was trying to show it to me? Or warning message you need to show it to me. The static
It's not
methods
recommended
shouldn't
to
be.
call through an object.
So always you need to remember that the static members shouldn't be called with the object references. As it is not really required for me. With the help of you need to call me. I can come directly. So that is where it have that. So we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't call static members, but still it will allow you to call in such a way, but it is not really required. Guys, you should know the rules and regulations, the protocols in Java. So means it will allow you, but you shouldn't call. So because it can directly access. So now directly it is a static variable and it can be directly called. Now you might have a question. Hey, Chris, now I made this particular value changes, right? Huh? Now I made a change value here. Can I make this value change for this static? Absolutely, you can do it. Now you might have another question also. Now I'm not calling with this particular object. Now if I change this particular value, you'll understand why I'm declaring here. So value now here 77777. Okay, now I have been given it. Now if I call with this particular value, okay, I'm changing this one to 3, and let me even call this one with this. For your explanation, I'm just trying to do this one. If I have been did this, you see, I created an object and I have been called for this. I created an object, next object, I'm calling for this one. What would be the output now?
Double seven,
Next
double seven.
one will be 7777.
Double seven, double seven. Double
And
seven.
operators one.
Okay, do one thing,
Double
everyone print
seven.
in the chat. So now, here I have two statements. For object 1, what it will print. For object 2, what it will print. Come on. Done? Because there are two prints are there. For two prints, this is the answer you're printing it. For which object I need to take this one.
So can you share that code again, sir?
Only I'm seeing these people. What happened for others? Others will not bring the answer, or did you didn't understand, or you're not following it. The answer for this one is, so now you can see on this. I didn't given for any specific object. So if I change this particular value, it will change for everything. So this is the basic difference between a static and non-static. Now, these all static has been stored in in stack memory, right? Now, when it comes to this stack, okay, here I have value 3, value 4, and I have add, sub. These are the two methods. And now this is for static. And this stores in PUMGen memory or while doing the class loader. So you forgot about the class loader. You just understand really where it will go store. So because when we understand from the non-static in this pattern, you should also understand from the static pattern also how it will go. It will go in PUMGen memory, which is called permanent generator memory. In the short form, it will call as a PUMGen memory. Okay, so now it's stored here. Now what it will happen is it have the common memory allocation. So now the value 3, okay, equal to 777 which I have been given. Now in any of the classes or in anywhere I have been changed, in one place if I have been changed, everything will be pointing to the same memory. But previously what had happens in the non-static, it will have a different spaces, different addresses. So now this is 007, 008 and 009. But here it will have one common memory. Everything will be pointed to this. So that is the reason this is not really required to be changed by an object reference. If you change once, this will be reflected for every object reference. But whereas in this particular non-static, if I change the value for a single variable here, that will be pertained to that particular object only. It will not reflect on anything. So I told you, right, if I make some changes in the scratches in this one, it will not impact any other Xerox copy. But here, if I make one change, it will impact for the entire system. So that is the basic difference. Please go on mute. So that is a basic difference between the non-static and the static. So playing around. So because now, for an example, if you need to write a code, so why I need to know this one? You need to write a code, basic code. So you'll be defining your methods. You'll be defining your variables. Now you should know that what kind of variables I should declare, static or non-static, or what is this thing which I need to define, static or non-static. So this is what you need to clearly understand on this one. So if you don't understand this one, so calling them, accessing them, this will create a lot of problems. Clear? Any questions on this? So now today we purely discussed from the point of static and non-static, the differences between the static and non-static. Why am I explaining this one in detail? Because I told you, right, I talked to multiple people who have extensive experience. See, always the interviews will have the ego. If you're asking any question, if you're answering it, what they will try to do is they will try to strengthen the interview. They will ask you into the details. See, for an example, I'm asking a few questions to my team. If they're giving me every answer, what I'll try to do, then I'll make them to go for a little bit complex. I know there would be a break-even point where they can answer me the question. I'll ask till that particular point. Certain questions, wantedly, we will confuse the people. See, all the people will be not like this. So there will be very good people, so they will take it normal. But what I'm saying is, most of the people will be like me. So we give hardest a task, and then it is not to reject the candidate. It is the step to evaluate the candidate in a right means whether we can get the right candidates, because getting the right candidates at the right place, it's a great deal for us. Even though we ask complex, but still we know that, hey, this guy can do it. But if we are able, means only one thing what the people will look for is if he is able to answer the basic things, it's okay. If the complex things he can learn, because he has strong in the foundation. He knows alphabets very well. He knows grammar very well. Then obviously he can write a novel. It takes certain time for him, but definitely he can write. So this is the assumption, or this is the things, the way the people will think about it. But you are not telling me the alphabets. You're not telling me the words or spellings. You're not telling me the grammar. Can I assume that you can write a novel? Absolutely crap. Always you need to know that, hey, what I should prepare going for an interview. When you're going for an interview, first to prepare only the basics. Nothing more, nothing else they look for. You're strong in the basics. You explain these particular things, operators, whatever you learned, conditions, loops, and arrays, and this particular method, and this, and you know what is the questions they will be asking for if you go for any interviews. So, okay, if I'm starting the interview, so I'll be asking with the basic these things. In the basic itself, I can confuse the people. It's not my intention to confuse. It's not, means it's that the clarity of the people whether they will understand it or not. So now, if you understand this one clearly about the constructors, what we discussed yesterday, whatever I confuse you, you know the answer, right? And whatever the static and non-static, now you know it, right? So now the same question will be posed in a different ways. See, some people will ask you, can you tell me the difference between the static and non-static? And some people will be saying that the same question, okay, what is the difference between static and non-static? The same question, I'll ask it in a different way. You're writing the code, right? When you're writing the code, how you choose whether to use static or non-static? That means when you're defining a variables or methods, how you choose it, whether you're taking it as a static or non-static. Same question only, right? So here also you should know what is the difference between a static and non-static. And this question I'll ask you in another different pattern to make you much more complex, to make the question complicated. Am I creating, means I'm creating an object reference. See, now first I'll be asking the question, hey, I'm going to ask you a question. So this is pretty simple, but to know that particular question, first I'll ask you the basic. How I'll be accessing the non-static variables? If you're not able to say me that, I'll be calling this one with an object reference. There is no point of asking me that question because you failed in the basic 0 itself. How I'll be calling the non-static members? So by creating the object reference, we can call it. Simple answer. Okay, how I'll be calling the static? I can call directly. Okay, now he got this basic. Now step number 2. What is the question which I wanted to ask you is, why should I create an object to call the non-static members, and why I'm not creating an object to call the static variables? See, this same question I can ask it in a simple way. Tell me the differences between static and non-static. Simple question, they can answer it if they know it. But I wanted to make the question complicated. Then I'll ask, hey, why I should create an object reference to call this non-static? See, now the answer for all the 3 questions is the same. Difference between a static and non-static. Is it not? What is the answer? Was the answer is all these particular variables will be stored into this particular non-static memories. Sorry, the stack memory. Now, when I created this particular object, it will have a different memories in the heap, so that I can change these particular values, and then I can call them whenever I can call according to the particular object references. And when it comes to the static, it can have a common. If I change one value here, it will impact in all the places. So that is the reason I have to be very cautious when defining the static and non-static. And that is the reason I'll be creating an object, because it stores different value for a different object. The original value will not be impacted, but the duplicate values can be impacted, so that it can change that values and it can store into this particular objects. That is the reason I'll be creating multiple objects here. That's the reason I will not create an object for the stack because it have a common memory. There is no point of creating a particular object for this. See, the same question, same answer, but different way of asking them. Because when we shoot this question itself, the people will get confused. Okay, the interview is very tough. You know what? Before in 2010, I taken for an interview for one of the guy. I don't want to bring his name. He means I taken it for 45 minutes to 50 minutes. So he introduced himself. He introduced his background, and then he introduced it. And then I seen I was in Singapore, so I know that he was not fit for the position. I know that definitely he is not fit for the position. But what I have did is, I wrongly did what I have been taken the background on him. So because I'm in Singapore, right? I wanted to know that whether he can travel back to here and then here. So I need to know the family status because whether he can travel or not. So his marital status and these things I need to know because then only I can recruit because he need to come to Singapore. Right? I see that he's not fit technically, but still I thought like, okay, this is really means a need, indeed a need for him for a particular job for him. Then I said it's okay. I didn't make it complicated. I just taken him on board. After he joined, so then it went, and we are colleagues, and then we're working on and everything going on. And he always will be having here and there issues. Later on, we went for a team party, so where we are talking about all our bosses, how it happened, or how you interacted with the thing. So all the bosses are also there, and everyone is also there. And he asked, "What is the funniest thing which you have been ever faced in as you joined for this Spring Investments?" And that guy get up and says that the funniest thing which I attended the interview. I in front of all of the people, I just laughed. Okay, fine. But inside me, I felt very bad. See, on that day, I should have been taken interview. If I had taken a thorough interview, definitely I know that he will be not there. But when I have been given a leverage that, so thinking about something and giving that opportunity, the people thinks that, hey, this is the stupidest interview which I have been attended for. You believe it or not, from that time till now today, I stopped taking the interviews. But till now, when I'm taking an interview, I'll make sure that I can fail the candidate, but even I select that, but I'll make the interview that they will remember forever. And always they should feel that after attending an interview, they should feel that, hey, I learned a lot of things in this interview. Many people, so in the previous batches, they attended the interview and they joined into the sessions. Even I don't even see their faces. Why? Because this means then I decided myself. So interview should be strong. Then only I can gauge the right candidates. Then only whether they'll select or not. So that's altogether it's a separate ball. After doing a stringent interview, then you select them or reject them. So that is my option. But you shouldn't be lenient in the interviews. And after an interview, every question you asked, you should be able to answer it. Because you will be having a feeling, right? Whether this guy knows this or not. He is asking me. You feel that, right? So that's the reason every question which we asked in the interview, we should be able to answer it. And you feel that, hey, for interview, I need to prepare. Why I should prepare for taking an interview? This is really important. Before you take an interview, you should prepare well. What questions you need to ask, what answers you need to give, and how you need to handle the candidate in the interview, and how you can gauge. Exactly within 5 minutes, you should be able to gauge a candidate. That shows your maturity and experience. In first 5 minutes of your interview is very important for us. In the 5 minutes itself, we can gauge this candidate is good or not. And remaining things, what we'll try to do is your attitude. If I keep you into a stress level, see now if you're answering me one question, immediately I'll post next one. I'll repeatedly ask you the same question to make you sure that you are giving me the right answer. I know that you've given the right answer, but still I ask you the same thing to confuse you. Next, that 30 minutes or 40 minutes, what we will try to do is We'll keep you into the extensive pressure and see that whether the candidate can take this pressure or not. Obviously, what you at one point of time, what you will feel is, hey, whether I'll get the job or not. Why this guy is hell of doing this? You know, I attended for an interview before this one, 3 hour 45 minutes. It's heavily draining. I need to travel for more than 45 kilometers. I completely drenched, went to the restroom. I changed into suit and then I attended. Completely inside the suit, I was drenched. When I wear on this that suit and everything, so the people were not able to see that. But when I'm sitting and then talking to it, that complete chillness I was there. It is completely AC. That guy came and one lady came, so HR, and then that guy interviewed me for 3.5 hours. This happened before 4 to 5 years when which is the last company, gain credit. I literally jumped on the toes, and once after the interview, I told him this was one of the worst interview which I have been attended for. Because what he does is he asked me one question and he will look at HR and he will smile. Just he wanted to say, see how difficult question I asked. I'm giving that answer. And he need to fight with me to prove that he is wrong. But he is asking me the basic questions from the testing and then from the Java. We have a tug of war. And he wanted to prove smart in front of our HR. And for me, I wanted to prove this. But you're not smart. 3.5 hours we fight to each other. And after that one, he walked away from the room. And then I told the HR was there. I told her, she asked me, what is your interview experience? And I blasted on her face the same. You don't want to give the job. I'm perfectly fine, but this is not the way to do this. And the way the interview happened, it is absolutely crap. I know that this guy does not belong to the testing, because if he knows the testing, he will never ask me these questions. You know what? He is still now my guru. Even for whatever I do, I'll ask him, sir, is this the right way to do this? Even now, he supports me. Whenever I have an issue, anything, I'll call him. See, we can't evaluate a person. See, now, after 3.5 hours interactions, actually, there is a reason why he has been done this. Because I need to handle more than 65 people in the team with an extensive pressure, extensive things. How I can handle it? He